Chapter 79. Back in Pie's room, I take a long look around, and I'm not sure I'm aware of making it a last look, but that's how it's going to turn out. I look at all Pie's bits and pieces, the science books, the model of the solar system dangling from the ceiling, his clothes in the wardrobe, his clothes, jeans, t-shirt, bomber jacket that I'm wearing. On his desk there are more books and a slim box labelled Junior Letter Writing Kit, with envelopes and paper decorated with pictures of spaceships and planets. Sitting at the desk, I remove it from its frame, the picture of me, Dad and Mum. I fold it in half, put it in an envelope and address it to Mum. Well, not my real Mum, but the one in Bladen, the one married to Roddy. It's a leaving present. It's like I want her to have something of me. Next, I write on the sheet of paper, "Please read this and remember me. Thank you. Love from Al." I put it inside my copy of the Memory Palaces of the Sri Kalpana and leave it on the bed. Finally, and my hand is shaking slightly when I pick up the pen, I start a letter to Pie. I don't know if you've ever written an important letter. Texts and emails don't seem quite the same somehow, but this has to be spot on right. And when I start to write the words, they just come straight out. No hesitation, no crossings out, as if everything I know and everything I need are contained in the pen, and all I am doing is holding it. It's kind of squeezing it onto the paper. I fill one sheet, then another, and my wrist is aching. And just as I'm near the bottom of the last sheet in the box, I realise that I have finished saying what I need to say. I don't need to reread it. I know it's exactly right. I fold the sheets and cram them into the envelope, writing on the front, "For Pie Chowdhury, read immediately." I stand up, flexing my wrist, and shove the envelope in my jeans pocket. The doorbell goes. I hear the front door open and voices downstairs. Out on the bedroom window, I can see a police car is parked outside. Grandpa Byron's voice comes up the stairs. Al, come downstairs, please." In the hallway are two police officers, a skinny man and a fat woman, and I immediately get what has happened. Roddy. Roddy seemed suspicious. It was the way he shook his head at Mum as we left. It's like he was saying, "Something's not quite right here." And he followed the policeman's instincts, made a couple of calls, and here they are. Two police officers being polite and everything, because there is no reason for them not to be, as they are just following up inquiries. "This is Al, is it?" says the police officer. "How are you doing, son?" "I'm fine, thanks," I say, and give a wary smile. "I've just come to ask you and your granddad a few questions, son. It's naught to worry yourself about, but we've got to follow certain procedures. You go off into your kitchen, then my colleague here," and he nods his head towards the woman officer, "and I'll be in your front room with your granddad. Then we'll swap round, okay?" I shrug and follow the policewoman's swaying bottom into the kitchen. I suppose they want to question us separately to check out our stories and see if we don't even have a story other than the true one, which no one would believe. Then I could see big trouble ahead. Arrests, investigations, accusations, care homes, court orders, DNA tests, press reports. The plan I had devised, with the letter to Pie and everything else, could happily have been enacted in a day or two, once I had built up the courage and thought through the details. No time for that now. I am under kitchen arrest by the unsmiling fat policewoman, and I must act immediately. It's early evening, around the time that Alan Shearer first wakes up, and I can hear him scrabbling in the cardboard box. I go over to him, pick him up, and take him over to the police officer, who just melts. Her eyes go soft, and a soppy smile makes dimples in her cheeks. "Oh," she says. Really, it goes on for ages and ends in a squeak. "He's adorable. What's his name?" I tell her, and she giggles. I let Alan Shearer run over her hands, and she loves it. So far, so good. Now for the next bit. "I'm just going to put him back in his box," I say, making sure she has heard, and I take him from her. With my back to her, I head to the shallow box with Alan Shearer in my right hand. With my left, I pull open the pocket of my bomber jacket, and as I bend over the box, I make my actions of putting the hamster into it, but instead slip him into my pocket. "There you go, matey," I say, and I even move my head and pretend to follow his movements. As casually as I can, I say, "I'm just going to the toilet," and I sort of stroll out of the kitchen, dead natural, down the hallway and into the downstairs loo. I've only got, I figure, about 2 minutes, probably less. Here is what is going to happen in the kitchen. Fat police lady is in love with Alan Shearer. She cannot resist going over to the box and checking him out. He won't be there. She'll be looking in his bedding and under the little box that's in there for him to play with, and she'll assume that he has got out using the plastic ruler as a ladder that I deliberately left leaning up against the edge of the inside of the box. And seeing as she was left in charge, she'll start looking for him, desperate to find him before I can get back from the toilet. 2 minutes, tops. Anyway, I've already opened up the tiny toilet window, which I reckon I can just squeeze through. Trouble is, I'll squeeze Alan Shearer as well. Moving quickly, I take off the loo roll that's hanging on the wall and tear off a long strip of paper. I twist it into a rope, tie it into the cardboard tube, then pop my hamster inside, shutting both ends with a ball of paper. Poor Alan Shearer, but it's only going to be for a few seconds. Holding on to one end of the paper rope and standing on the toilet seat, I lower the loo roll out of the window and onto the ground outside. I'm next. I have to go through feet first, which means standing on the sink and getting my legs through the small window. I'm just about to push off and out when there's a knock on the toilet door. Al, are you okay in there? It's the police lady. Yeah, nearly finished, I say from my position halfway in and halfway out of the window. It's your hamster. I think he's got out of his box. Oh no, could you go in and look on the floor? He usually goes behind the fridge. Perhaps you could pull that out. I'm nearly finished. I can tell my odd position is making my voice sound strange, so I had a bit of tummy trouble. I hear her footsteps move away and I drop out of the window, pick up Alan Shearer and release him from his cardboard tube. Holding him in my hands, I run down to the garden shed and open it up. Now, the shed can be seen from the kitchen, but I just have to trust to luck that she doesn't look out of the window and that she is presently trying to move the fridge to find Alan Shearer, who is instead happily in the garden tub along with the rest of the time machine stuff. Carrying the garden tub is tricky anyway, as I discovered that time when I was with Carly. There are handles on the side, but it's just the size of it that makes it unwieldy. It's virtually impossible to run with, as I'm now trying to do, down the back alley that runs down to the seafront. But I'm going in the other direction. I'm going back to Chesterton Road, back to the jungle, the patch of wasteland in front of my old house, number 40, back to where all this began. It just feels right. Chapter 80. Dear Pie, with luck you'll be reading this on the morning of August the 1st, 1984. Sorry I didn't turn up on the beach like we agreed. It's a little difficult for me to know exactly how much I can put into this letter, but if all this works, then there will be things will become clearer, I promise. Meeting you has changed my life, changed my world, but don't be scared by this. It's a good thing, mostly. There is just one thing I want you to do, Pie, or rather not do. Please, Pie, do not go out on the lean, mean green machine today. That's all. I can't really tell you why, but you must believe me. And for good measure, next time you go down to the promenade, there's a brick on the path which you should move. While I'm here, though, a couple of things occur to me. 1, Macca is bad news. I think you already worked that one out. 2, if you become a dad, call your first son Albert Einstein Hawking after me. 3, never ever mess with time travel. Ask your dad about it. He knows a better way. Got that? If you don't do anything else, just trust me on the go-karting thing. Don't use it today. Trust me like you've never trusted anyone before in your life. To show you how important this is to me, I'm trusting you with something of mine. Please look after Alan Shearer. He's the best hamster ever. And I really hope I will see you again sometime in the future. Your true friend, Al. So chapter 81 tomorrow.